Right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is another episode for Conversations with Rob. We're on YouTube and we will be on radio also with some tape segments. So definitely check that out. Please like, subscribe, and also follow our videos. We do interview many different people from many different walks of life. Today, I'm honored to have Maria Matlack on. Did I say it correctly?
You said it correctly.
All right, awesome. All right, so she is the marketing and public relations director here at the Humane Society in Tampa Bay. So obviously, I am in Orlando area right now, but we are our friends also down I-4 in Tampa Bay. So showing them some love and support. So Maria, first of all, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate this.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be on your show.
All right, so let's talk about, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and what made you want to work in this field as far as animals goes.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, my name's Maria, and I head up the marketing and PR for the Humane Society. And before this position, I was actually working with an ad agency, and it was a great experience, but it just wasn't really my passion, and I just felt like I wanted to do something more mission-based to help animals versus, make an extra dollar for someone who didn't really need it. So I had like a coming to Jesus moment and started looking for new jobs, and I saw this job and I immediately thought like, hey, this is definitely for me. I want to get in there as soon as possible. So I started interviewing, and here I am. 1 year later, I've been here for a whole year, so I'm over the moon.
Oh, that's great. And I love the mission of the Humane Society. But could you tell in your own words, the viewers, what is the mission of the Humane Society of Tampa Bay?
Sure. So our mission, we're dedicated to helping homeless animals in need. And we also want to make sure that we're not only helping animals, but we're keeping the community safe. And we try to keep people with their pets. So we have a lot of different programs that a lot of people don't realize. For example, we have a food assistance program where people can come to our shelter every Tuesday to supplement their feeding of their pets so that they're never in a position to where they can't afford their pet and have to surrender them to us. We also have something that's called Animals, where we partnered with Meals on Wheels, where we have drivers go out once a month to the homebound to deliver pet food to them so that we can ensure that they keep their pets as well. So we're not just about saving animals' lives, but we're about keeping animals in people's homes and just keeping the community safe as well.
I know that you guys do a lot of education. I know you kind of touched on that a little bit. And with the pet care goes, and I was just researching this before we came on about if you need the dog or the cat spaded, you guys do it for a discounted rate to help out people that are, not able to go to a regular pet store and pay an outrageous amount of money. Is there any other ways that you educate people? You educate like students, children about the mission of helping animals and making sure that if you're gonna get an animal, whether it's you adopt it or I don't permit this, but if you do go and buy it at a store,
Right.
you're gonna make sure that that animal is well taken care of, and you're not gonna surrender it within a couple of weeks of having an animal because you don't know how to take care of it.
Right. So whenever there is an opportunity, for example, we just had the Great American Teach-In where we went to over 26 schools just to educate our youth about our mission and animal welfare in general, and like you were mentioning, how to take care of animals and what the proper protocol and care is for them. Something very exciting for us that we're going to do. So we're actually building a new shelter, and it will be here October 2020. And we're going to have a whole education room dedicated to educating the general public about animals, animal welfare, and, not just kids, but adults too, of the proper ways to take care of animals and what you should do in certain situations. So we're going to be rolling out a ton of new educational programs come October 2020. So keep an eye out for that. Something that we try to do as well, just with our communications, if you follow us on our social media accounts, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or subscribe to our email communication list, we always try to, when we do posts and different things, we try to educate people as well, just on some misperceptions about certain animals, or just something that's going on in the animal welfare world. So we're always trying to educate the public about the best course of action when it comes to animals.
So Maria, this is what I see, and I want to ask you this question. You see a lot of people, they want to get the good-looking dog, the good-looking cat. They don't want to adopt. They go to the store, they go and buy a cat or a dog for $200 or $300. But the thing is, that's all well and good. But if you adopt a dog or a cat or any kind of animal in general, you're saving that cat, dog, rabbit, whatever. And I feel like if you do that,
they know
that
it.
cat,
they appreciate it.
Yeah, that cat knows it. That dog knows it. They don't want to be, with 150 million cats. They want to be with the person, the owner. They want to, they're loyal to their owners. So why would you tell people that say, hey, I'm going to go to the pet store and go and buy a cat for $200 or $300? But why would you tell them not to adopt?
So what we always like to tell the general public is, one, that's a misperception that shelters don't have a purebred or a certain type of cat or dog that you're looking for. Because at least I can tell you once a week that we have a purebred dog or cat surrendered to us. So we often have the breed that you're looking for. We just need the public to be a little bit more patient. If you're looking for a German Shepherd and you want the German Shepherd right now, we may not have a German Shepherd today, but we may have one tomorrow or a month from now. So if you're willing to, just be a little bit more patient, you might be able to find what you're looking for at a shelter. And I will say this, even if you do have some sort of, purebred in mind, I encourage you to just visit your local shelter and walk through and do a little meet and greet with some of the animals, because they'll surprise you. Maybe you're, like I was mentioning before, you're looking for a German Shepherd and you find something that, is a German Shepherd mix or something along those lines. And you bond with that dog more so than, a dog at the pet store. To me, it's worth it to get an animal that you have a true bond with versus, a designer breed. And something that's nice that we offer in the shelter, our shelter at least, we allow you, if you have another pet, you can bring them to the shelter. For example, if you have a dog and you're nervous if your dog's going to get along with a new dog, we highly suggest you bring your dog to the shelter so that they can do a little meet and greet. We also offer a test run program to where you can take an animal home for 3 weeks and decide if it's a good fit for your home and your family. And to me, pet stores don't offer that, breeders don't offer that. To me, that's really important, because you don't want to, purchase an animal and then you end up surrendering it to us because it doesn't get along with your family or something else is going on. And something else that people don't often think about until it happens to them, you have to be careful with a lot of these breeders and these pet stores, because a lot of these animals come from, puppy mills and things along those lines. And at a shelter, especially our shelter, all of our animals are properly vetted to make sure that if they do have an issue, it's taken care of, and, or they don't have an issue at all. We try to always, we always make sure that the animals are properly cared for. Whereas if you purchase an animal, you don't know what you're going to get. And then something else that's a big money saver when you adopt from us is all of our animals come spayed, neutered, microchipped, vaccinated. That costs hundreds of dollars.
Right.
And our adoption fees are, very fair. So instead of spending, thousands of dollars on a dog or a cat, and then plus, the extra $1,000 or so on all these other services, you're getting all that done for you up front. And you've met the animal, you can have it do a whole test run with the animal. So to me, it just makes the most logical sense to adopt versus shop.
I agree, 100%. So a couple more general questions before I want to get into more animal welfare questions. How many animals do you house at the shelter, and what kind of animals do you? Obviously, dogs and cats, but are there any other animals that you guys house there?
So we, last year, we saved nearly 10,000 animals' lives, and
Wow.
that's just not cats and dogs. That is pocket pets, so that could range from like a guinea pig, a hamster. We even get in some exotics like chinchillas, ferrets.
Oh, wow.
Right now we have a ton of bunnies. So we not only have dogs and cats, we have pocket pets.
And how many animals do you estimate like in the shelter at this moment, like an estimation?
Um, that's a really good question. I'd say probably close to 150 or so.
Okay.
And
So
you have to remember, we not only have the animals in our shelter, but we have a wonderful foster care program where we have a ton of
right.
animals that are in foster care homes right now because they're too young to be adopted, or maybe there's a medical issue and their foster parent is treating them for that medical issue before they're put up for adoption.
Right.
So we not only have what you see in the shelter, we have a lot of other animals behind the scenes as well.
Okay, and what is the most popular animal that gets adopted more? Cats, dogs, the
Dogs.
guinea pigs, or
Dogs. Hands down
okay,
dogs.
all right. And just a couple more general ones. What is the most popular time for adoption? Is it near Christmas, kind of this time of season, or is it more towards the beginning of the year, in January, February? What is the time that's usually the big adoption time?
So we do see increased adoptions around holiday time, but we are really fortunate, the Humane Society of Tampa Bay, to have such a great following and support by the community that we
Mhm.
almost have a line every single day when we open at
Wow.
12 a week and 10 on the weekends. So we're just really fortunate to have the community support in that way. And for us, we never really have a slow time. We're always pretty busy. I don't know if all the other shelters can say the same, but we are really fortunate in that way. So we're really, really lucky.
All right, so last two questions before we get into the more animal welfare stuff. How many people volunteer and work at the Humane Society of Tampa Bay? And also, how much does it cost to adopt an animal there?
Sure. So we have close to 800 volunteers
Wow.
and close to 100 staff. And our adoption fees, it kind of all depends on the age of the animal that you're looking to adopt. But puppies, they are $199, and that's 3 months and under. Dogs are 95, and then cats, adult cats over 4 months are 25, and under 4 months they are, how much are cats under 4 months? 50. Sorry,
Okay.
brain fart.
No worries. So, how do you make sure there's a lot of crazy people in the world. I mean, we see people doing crazy things to animals on the news all the time. How do you guys make sure that these animals, dog, cat, rabbit, guinea pig, whatever it may be, are getting a good home? I mean, you hear about this is going back a little ways, but Michael Vick when they had the dog
Yeah,
fighting. I
awful.
mean, you see people abusing animals all the time. So how do you guys make sure that that animal is going to a good home and it's not, going where it's going to be abused?
Right. So we make sure that we all of the animals are definitely visited by the folks that are looking to adopt them, and our adoption coordinators kind of have been trained on how to identify if it's a good fit. We'll even tell somebody they can't adopt an animal if we feel like it's not a good fit. So
Right.
we are in a position to kind of tell folks if we feel like it's not a good fit or something isn't quite right, we can kind of reject that adoption at any time. So we're always looking out for the animal's well-being versus, just another animal getting adopted and going out the door. So
Right.
we're really careful about that.
So we see a lot and we hear a lot about pit bulls too. So this is kind of somewhat of the same question, but a little bit different. Pit bulls
Mm-hmm.
outlawed in different cities in all over the country. Mostly I don't believe it's the pit bull. I believe it's the person that raises the dog, of how vicious and how they act towards other dogs and other people. Do you guys house pit bulls, or what is your position on pit bulls?
So we have pretty much the same opinion as you, where you know, we have a ton of pit bulls in our shelter, and we adopt out thousands of them every year, and you know, they're wonderful dogs and they're in good homes. And you know, again, we don't really believe it's the dog. We believe it's how they're treated and raised. Right. So we do adopt out pit bulls, and we are against that misperception about
Right.
pit bulls.
Right. No, I agree. So we see a lot of dogs that, you know, can't get adopted, rather, because of the age, what they look like, their behavior, maybe around other people, other dogs. How do you guys handle that when you get a dog that, you know, doesn't behave well, or maybe that's been kind of, you know, in with you guys, housed rather with you guys for quite a while? It's not getting adopted. Do you kind of try to push those, you know, people toward that dog at the beginning and say, hey, this is a good dog. We've been working with this dog as far as behavior, or as the look. You know, he may not look, or she may not look the best, but she's an
Right.
amazing dog or cat.
Yeah. So what we'll do, we're in pretty close touch with you know, marketing and the shelter. And what we'll do, if there's an animal that's been at the shelter for where we consider a long period of time, we'll try to do a little campaign for the animal, just to get people interested. And we are also really lucky too, of where we partner with a lot of our local news stations, and we have a segment called Pet of the Week. We're almost on every channel. So we'll bring the animal on the news station as well, and try to get visibility to that animal there too. So those two things combined usually does the trick.
Do you feel like you're very successful most of the time when that's the case, when, you know, they go on the news stations, or you do the publicity, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, whatever it may be, of getting that dog
Yeah,
adopted?
yeah, we're pretty fortunate to where, you know, the right person will see it, and they do come in and get that animal. So we've never really had a situation of where an animal didn't get adopted after us, you know, continuing to kind of run a little campaign for them. Because like you said, like sometimes animals, you know, they just don't really show that well on the shelter because they're scared. You know, they're not in a comforting home, and it's, you know, they're in a new place, they're a little bit afraid, or maybe they're a little bit older and I don't know, they have some sort of condition where their hair is missing or something like that. We really try to work with them to show how they are with people and how sweet and loving they actually are, and that people should give them a chance.
Right. So a couple more questions. I'm originally from Rhode Island, and I know it's cold up there, so we don't see as many animals outside. But since being in Florida, when I came down here for college and my master's degree, since being down here, I see cats roaming around everywhere. And it's tough because, for instance, I went to a Wendy's a couple of weeks ago, and I see these cats, and what can you do when you go near them and try to get them? They kind of run away. But I see cats
Yeah.
all over the place. What do you think that is? Is it just because of the weather, or is it because people are kind of breeding these cats, not getting them spaded? Do you see the same thing in Tampa Bay as I'm seeing in Orlando?
Yeah, we're seeing, close to the same thing. And we actually have a TNVR program to where, people will get told of, where the cats are. We'll trap them, and then we'll bring them back to our animal hospital, and then we'll spay or neuter them, and then we'll vaccinate them. And then since they're considered wild or feral, we'll put them back in that place. But over time, that area will decrease with the populations of cats, just because they're constantly being altered. So I truly do think it has something to do with the weather, because I know in Puerto Rico and places that are also warmer have the same issue.
Okay. Now, with the hurricane that just happened in the Bahamas, I know a lot of places in Florida took in a lot of animals. Did you guys see any animals from that, or are you just more kind of situated with the Tampa Bay area?
Yeah, so we were actually on the list to take animals from the Bahamas, but they didn't have any to get to us at that time.
Okay.
So I think they just found some shelters that were probably a little bit closer. But we always have open arms whenever it comes to disaster relief and helping out other shelters and other folks with taking in animals.
Do you see a lot more action, Maria, during the hurricane season when people are kind of, I mean, this year we didn't really get a serious hurricane, thank God for that. But, you know, if there is a hurricane, do you guys see a lot more action with people worrying they're like heading for higher ground? Obviously, Tampa Bay, you're right near the water. People is in that evacuation zone. Do you see a lot more action with animals coming into the shelter for that?
Yes, and part of our plea to the community is, we try to always educate the public on and we have a disaster preparedness kit that we give out for free to the public so that they know what to do. And we highly encourage them, to take your animals. Don't leave them. Don't bring them to us. Like, we're going to teach you how to properly evacuate with your animal.
Okay. All right. I was curious about that, especially down here in Florida. So last two questions before we end the interview. I know that you guys had the tuxes and tails, and I watched actually the video before the interview. I almost started crying, so I had to shut it off because it was pretty sad, some of the stories that are included about the animal abuse. So for this question, it's kind of what I just said about the animal abuse. What's the scariest instance where you see an animal come into the Humane Society of Tampa Bay? Have you seen any animals dog fighting, breeding? I assume there's a lot of abuse besides obviously people that just kind of can't take care of the animal anymore. Do you see that, like animals coming in bad shape?
Oh yeah, unfortunately, that's just the video that you watch is just a little bit of a glimpse as to what we see every single day. And that's one of the difficult things about working in animal welfare is to see how terribly these animals who can't speak or protect or stand up for themselves, the way that they're treated. So, we do see a ton of just neglect cases, abuse, an overbreeding situation, so we see all types of stuff that you just don't even want to hear about because it's really heartbreaking.
People that are mentally sick doing these things, but but so when you do have that case, is it mostly people that kind of see the action and they make the call to you guys and you guys go over and take action? Is it more from the police that kind of come to you guys and say, hey, we just had this animal welfare issue, can you guys take the animal in? How does that work with that?
It kind of all depends on the situation. But normally if it's like a really bad case, we partner with animal services and they're the ones who go and do the investigation. And then they'll say, hey, can you guys come with us and get these animals and then get them in good shape and get them cared for and get them adopted out. So when it comes to the really horrific cases, we work with animal services.
Okay. I was always concerned about that issue. So how, my last two questions, how can people help? I know you guys say you have over 800 people as volunteers, and then we did have the fundraiser with the tuxes and tails. That was in October, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So could you tell the viewers more about that fundraiser and also, as I said, how they can help?
Sure. So Tuxes and Tails, that's our biggest fundraiser of the year, and that's our annual gala. And it's usually, it's a big fundraiser for us, like I mentioned. So it's really nice. It's usually in October of every year, and we feature some of the animals. We have our stories and we feature some of the animals on a runway, and it's like a full-blown production, and everyone gets dressed up. We have a theme each year, and that's kind of like one of our higher end types of events, but just for folks looking to help us all year round, or, you know, just pitch in any way that they can. Even though I mentioned that high number of volunteers, you know, we can always use the extra set of hands, just because, you know, we are limited staff-wise, and we truly wouldn't be able to do all the work that we do without our volunteers. And we have other events throughout the year that aren't, you know, necessarily as big and fancy as Tuxes and Tails, but for example, our next one is Bark in the Park. That's on February 8th at Curtis Hickson Park, and that's just basically a big, giant, massive event of, you know, with a bunch of different vendors and rescues, and it's actually like a 1 mile walk along the river where you can bring your dog and just do a nice little walk for the animals. We have another event called Island Paws in the spring, and that's kind of like a big party for the animals. That's a really nice one too. But say you don't have time to volunteer, or, you know, you can't make the events, you know, just go to our website, and we just have a very general donate button. Any little bit helps. And our pet partner program is also really helpful for us. It's just a monthly giving program where you can select an amount each month, and it automatically pulls from your credit card or account of your choice, and all that money goes back to our animals. So there's a few different ways to help us and help support our animals.
All right, and how can people find more besides, obviously, as you said, going to the website, as far as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, stuff like that?
Yeah, we have all of our newest updates on our social media accounts, Humane Society of Tampa, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, like you mentioned. Also, if you go to our website and sign up for our email communications, that's another really good way to kind of stay in touch with us and to stay up to date on, you know, some of the animals, their stories, the events that are coming up next, and then just any initiative that we are working on. We keep our audience updated.
All right. Well, that's all we have for today. Maria, thanks so much. You really informed me and everybody else, hopefully, and hopefully people will start to volunteer and donate and help out, because as you said, the animals don't have a voice. They don't have anybody to fend for them. It's just the owners and the people that, as you said, help out at the Humane Society of Tampa Bay and all around. So we need more people to get involved. So Marie, thanks so much for your help. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right,
Thank you.
bye-bye now. Thank you.